Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kamidogu podcast with Christopher and Toasty.
Toasty!
We're so glad to be with you once again, and if you love Mortal Kombat even half as much as we do, then you're in the right place, my friends. A warm welcome to all of our newcomers and regulars, and a quick reminder to check out our previous episode, number 60, in which we became the very first in 29 years to interview the original Striker. It's quickly become a very special episode to not only us, but a bunch of fans worldwide, and for that, we'd like to extend our deepest gratitude for all the support. With Toasty in Canada and me in Australia, it's extremely difficult to get together, even if it's just us two, let alone find a time to interview the plethora of guests we've had on the show over the past few seasons. With most located in North America, I'm usually the one up first thing in the morning, but Toasty, the tables have turned for this episode, my friend. I assume you've had some breakfast and a morning coffee?
You know what? I have. I am ready to go, and let's do this, man. You know what? I'm a little stuffy right now. You know, you can probably tell. I'm just getting over an illness, but I'm ready to go, man. Can't complain.
Let's do it.
My friends, we are back for another great special today. After waiting so many years for our new Mortal Kombat movie, we finally got our wishes in 2021 as the franchise saw a return to the big screen. We saw some stunning interpretations of characters abroad, especially that of a certain Black Dragon member. You all know him fondly as Cabal, commonly referred to as Mortal Kombat's version of The Flash. With his swift speeds, distinctive mask, and powerful combat skills, he remains a very strong fan favorite, and hopefully we can continue seeing the character at some point within the MKU. Whether that's a Revenant Cabal or otherwise, there is most certainly hope. Kamidogu is delighted to provide you an interview today with Daniel Nelson, a stunts person and actor who has been very successful as of late, being included in some very popular IPs. Nelson played Cabal in the 2021 film, and if you didn't know, Daniel is officially returning in some capacity for the sequel. At this point in time, not a whole lot has been revealed for the film, and so of course, you can expect there's a non-disclosure agreement set in place for the actors. Either way, we are totally happy to talk about all things Mortal Kombat with Daniel, his career, and anything else that might float up. So for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview. All right, combatants, and here we are with Daniel Nelson. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm a huge Cabal fan. It's good to see you here.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've done a podcast. Bit of hype died down, I guess, since the first movie, but it's nice to get back on the air and have a chat.
To start off today, perhaps you can fill us in on how you initially got into stunt work. Is it something you had wanted to do as a child, or did you have ambitions to be an actor?
Yeah, man, I wanted to be an actor. I was doing extra work and like short films. I was doing acting classes for, I'm going to say about 3 or 4 years. And then I auditioned for a role at a theme park, playing Batman at Movie World on the Gold Coast. So there's stage combat involved in that character and some of the other characters in the park. So I got taught stunts doing that job. And so I wasn't really chasing stunts. It just sort of happened that way. And I grew to love it and just progressed from there, just keep chasing the training and work and in Australia, the grading process too, so getting qualified as a stuntman. But as a kid, I was pretty active. I'd just be up trees all the time or, running around playing tag with mates. But yeah, I remember I loved climbing trees, so I wasn't afraid of heights. Yeah.
Very
Right on,
cool.
man.
So, how did you land the role of Cabal in the first place?
I had just finished a film the same year, working with the second unit director. So the second unit director of Mortal Kombat. So we had just worked on Godzilla vs Kong together, and I know Simon McCoy, the director, was looking to cast a stuntman for Cabal. And they wanted someone tall, and initially Cabal wasn't a big character in the movie. I'm not saying he was one of the leads, but he was quite a small character. So it wasn't, they didn't need to find someone overly specific. There wasn't really even any fights in the initial script I read for Cabal. So, it wasn't like, oh, what's his fighting ability like? It was just like, cool, he's big, he's imposing, he's done character work. I imagine, you know what I mean? Like, if they were really looking for a great fighter, they could have, or probably would have gone with someone else. And not saying that I'm terrible at fights, like I do back myself as a martial artist and film fighter, but looking back now, we filmed that 4 or 5 years ago. And I just look back at what I'm capable now of compared to back then. And I know I've grown a lot as a performer and a stunt fighter.
For sure.
So yeah, and the role of Cabal grew once filming started. The script started to change. I got added into more scenes. So there became like a big fight in the end with Ludi, who played Liu Kang, which initially in the first script I read, I think he just got shot into a tar pit with fireballs and I got set on fire. I think it was something that simple. So, maybe I would have had to do a fire burn, which I was quite proficient in doing that sort of stuff at the theme parks, fire burns and whatnot. So that's how it came about. Yeah, it's a bit of luck, I suppose, and I know they had a bit of an audition process going for Cabal, and I was a part of that process too. I remember I auditioned for, not so much auditioned for, but I think it was more like send in a self-tape about yourself and your ability, and I think I heard something back, but they're like, oh, well, they were looking at me, and then they said, oh, we've decided to go another way with it, or something, and so I was like, okay, forgot about it, and then it got put in the hands of Kyle, the second unit director, and they put me forward, and Bob's your uncle, here I am.
Very nice. Did you happen to do any research into Cabal's backstory, or did you check out any of the games in preparation for the role?
Certainly did. Yeah, I figured it was the best way for me to understand the character, because there was going to be mannerisms and things that I needed to understand about Cabal. So his personality, and man, his personality changes throughout the films. Like there's some where he's quite a serious character, and others he's a bit more jokey. So I guess I had a little bit of liberty with which way I decided to go with it. I mean, ultimately they dubbed my voice with Damon Harriman, but still physicality, is how you hold yourself. Are you staunch? Or are you a bit more relaxed? Or
big time.
And I think I added a bit of light and shade, depending on what the scene, what was involved with, with the dialogue and all that, is with how I portrayed myself. But I watched all the cutscenes for 9 and 10 on YouTube, and then played 11. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, did you check out any material from the older games as well? Like, Cabal is just featured in such a kind of bizarre way in Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. He sounds a bit like Elvis Presley or something like that. And he's maskless. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I did see that. So, which is, goes back to what I said.
Yeah.
I had a bit of liberty. I could have played it anyway, and I think I would. And yeah, and it's hard too because you're all masked up and costumed up. So to portray any sort of emotions becomes a bit trickier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's more like body language as opposed to facial expressions and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think too, stillness. You know, you don't just want to be like, oh, I'm in a mask, so I've got to wobble my head and like, oh, here I'm talking.
Yeah.
I think you can afford just to be still and be an imposing figure on the lens. So that's what I sort of went for. I did a little bit of this especially the scene where we first meet Cabal and Reiko. I did play that up a bit more casual, and then I guess as the stakes grew, when I talked to Kano, and I decided to go for a bit more of a serious mood, I suppose, with Cabal.
Okay.
For sure. So speaking of that mask, how hard was it to see with the mask on, and do you remember having any sort of accidents or close calls?
It was very hard to see. And yeah, I did have close calls. So the red lines in his eyes, they were actually LED lights that were, so there's a little battery in the back of my mask, and they'd turn on, and they were like right in front of my eyes. So
Oh, wow.
I can kind of see above them and kind of see below them, and had no peripheral vision. So yeah, it made it very hard, and you don't want to be sort of looking like this or looking facing up so you can kind of see through it, because then it just looks silly. So you've still got to look straight ahead with your head, but you can't see what you're fighting, or even walking up the steps. I remember in Shang Tsung's throne bridge
Area. Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't want to be walking up these looking down at the steps, because that doesn't look very good on screen. So I'm basically just guessing where each step is, and just like, man, I hope I don't have a stormtrooper moment and then trip up. Or and then I had a close call with Ludi. There was a bit where I had to swing a sword at him, and I remember on one of them I did hit him in the face. They were foam, so it didn't do any damage, but it probably didn't feel great for him, and I felt terrible. And I just remember it was just quite a tricky shot they were trying to get, because it ended up not being in the film, but it was a bit where he was shooting a fireball, and I'm sort of dodging this fireball as it's kind of still, sort of like running around, and then I come in and hit him with both swords across the arm, and for whatever reason, I can't remember the exact details, but it wasn't quite selling, so I had to get closer and closer, and eventually I got too close and got him in the face. But he was alright about it. we just moved on, and keep going with the scene.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm glad he was cool with it. Hey, a little side question, Daniel. Were you a Mortal Kombat fan growing up? Did you play any particular game? Which combatants did you like?
I wouldn't say I was a fan. I did play it, but I never had a Sega Master System or whatever the console was. I think it was Sega, wasn't it?
Super Nintendo.
Nintendo, Sega Genesis, whatever.
Right, yeah. So I never had any consoles, but so when I played, it would be at my mate's house. But I remember loving the game. I really enjoyed playing it. But I guess I couldn't become a fan because I couldn't, then just get the next game or to play. But I loved playing. I think I liked playing as Liu Kang the most. I like, just bicycle kicking or shooting fireball. I really liked playing Liu Kang. I don't think I ever played as Cabal.
I think I remember reading somewhere. You're a bit of a Striker fan as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I did like Striker. Yeah. I tend to like underdogs. Like, I tend to like characters that you really want them to do well, but they never kind of do. Like, Dragon Ball Z was my thing, and I always liked Krillin, even though he was like kind of the weak character that never really amounted to much. And it'd always be so close. You'd be like, yes, this is his moment, and then, he does something dumb. But no, Striker, he's a cool guy. Like, the fact that he doesn't really have any powers, like, is where everyone else does. I'm like, on you for being in this game.
That's it. So circling back to that final scene with Ludi, I understand you rehearsed for about a week in a quarry out in South Australia, and you guys were inundated with flies during the day. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
How did you hear about that?
We actually interviewed you in 2021.
It was a video interview,
like text based.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I remember flicking through it, and I thought that would be a cool question to ask.
Yeah, the flies were horrendous. We even wore like these fly shields, like netting fly shields, but then you're fighting and doing stunts, so it was just annoying to have them.
Yep.
And it was so hot. We were in this quarry, and there was just no shelter from the sun. And it was where we shot it, but they hadn't like set up anything yet. So there were the odd people from art department sort of spraying the walls black, but there was just no hiding from the sun. And we were testing wire gags for a week or so. So it was like me and the other the stunt doubles for Ludi and Cole and Melina. It was pretty brutal. It was brutal, but I feel like in times like that you just gotta sort of go look at the bigger picture and go look what we're doing. And I mean, there's a huge amount of people that would give anything to be in this position. Even though sometimes it sucks and it's hot, you're like, well, I'm still getting to do pretty cool stuff.
Absolutely.
That's true. Shame you weren't sponsored by Mortine at that time.
Yeah, I'm right. And then as soon as the sun went down, the flies would disappear. I needed one of those Australian wide brims hat with the corks or something.
With the corks, yeah.
Because flies don't like movement, so that's I worked out. So when the corks are swinging, it must bug a bit. Because if there's a fly like on a bench or something, and you move your hand over it very, very slowly, it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there because it can't see your hand, and then you can. I only worked that out like a couple of weeks ago.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been killing flies left, right, and center.
I remember on Twitter back a few years ago, you stated this was your very first major fire stunt in a movie. Did it go pretty smoothly, all things considered? Tell us about how that went down.
Yeah, so it was my first fire stunt in a film, but I had worked at Universal Studios in Singapore about 2 years prior, or was it a year prior, and I would do a role there where I did like a pretty big fire burn in that role, anywhere from 2 days a week. You're doing 2 or 3 shows a day. So you add that up over a year, there's quite a few fire burns in a year. So I was pretty comfortable with it. And having the mask on was so good because generally with a fire burn, you want to keep the flames out of your face. But I didn't have to worry about that, so I just sort of let the flames engulf me, and I really didn't feel the flames at all. The tricky bit was at the end, from when I succumbed to the flames, I had to fall face first in the water.
Right.
And lay there dead for a bit. And I've just held my breath for however many seconds, 15, 20 seconds. And your adrenaline's going because you see flames everywhere. So I remember being face first, and then you hear cut, and then you bring up the first time, I think it was, I brought my head up. I went to take a big breath of air because my lungs were screaming and my mask was full of water, so I've just breathed in all this air, and then I'm coughing and spluttering, and I think my back was probably still on fire, and people were like trying to put me out. I'm like, don't worry about that, I'm trying to breathe.
Oh, God.
And so we did 3 takes, and they weren't really happy with the amount of fire on the first 2 because there's nothing really on my costume that was the gasoline, whatever they put on me. I should know, I'm a stuntman. Can't think of it right now, but they spray you with the fuel, right? and there's nothing really that it could attach to that really wanted to make it ignite. So they did 2, and not really happy. So the third time, I remember they ripped up. It was either like a costume T-shirt or a costume towel, and they sort of tied it to all these little parts of my costume. And then when I went up that time, I remember the flame was just so big. Because the first 2 times I hadn't even seen the fire, and the second time all I saw was red in front of me. And you can see in the movie there's a bit where I kind of I kind of do this, reel back, because I wasn't expecting quite so much fire in front of your face. And then you're just like, oh, okay, well, I'm on fire. I guess I should probably perform now.
Man, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and I had an idea. I sort of wanted to be quite erratic with it, I'm on fire. But then I remember Simon wanted it a bit more dramatic, so he wanted to sort of a bit more despair, I guess would be a word. So I changed my performance for that, and I do like that direction. I think it was the better choice than being sort of I guess erratic and flailing. Yeah, so it looked good, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think so. I think it turned out fantastic.
Sure.
Were there any deleted scenes from Cabal in the film at all?
There was one. It was a group scene after all the good guys took off out of Raiden's temple. And we're all the bad guys. We're standing around, sort of talking about what we're going to do next. I didn't have any dialogue in that scene. I just was just standing there. I remember Kano Josh had a bit of dialogue, and it was the funniest. He was so funny. So Natara was lying on the ground, sawn in half, and I remember every time he would start the scene, he would say something different, like. I remember one. I was like, "Yeah, bit of aspirin. She'll be right." And she was lying on the ground, sawn in half, and I'm just like, "Thank God I was in a mask because I was just cracking up." And you just think anyone got a band-aid, or any time, and it's just, because it's quite a serious moment, and all the other characters are quite serious, and then he's always just wisecracking. He was a funny guy.
Must have been so hard to to concentrate and focus with him there.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to stand there, so I was just kind of enjoying what was happening with all the other characters talking.
That's true.
But just try not to shake too much when I was laughing at his improv.
Yeah, he's really good with that, with the improvisation, man. He added so much stuff to that film. Are there any abilities from Cabal or fatalities, anything like that, from previous games that you really wish kind of made its way to the final product for the 2021 film, like the buzzsaw move or anything like that?
It's hard because a lot of the stuff they do in the games, it's quite hard to do practically. So we played with a bit where we hooked the hook swords together and sort of swing them around till I hold onto one, and there was the hook sword on the end. So we played with that, but it's just really quite hard to get looking dynamic and efficient. Whereas in a game, you can kind of, you can adjust the sword to make it look crisp and when it's hitting someone. So not really. I think what we saw was good, and it was. I know we were sort of struggling to use more sword moves because I wasn't fighting someone with a sword. So in the game, obviously, you can just hack and slice someone and their health depletes. But I think if you were to do that in the movie and I'm just cutting people, you'd be like, oh, why aren't they dead now? They've just been cut. And so fighting Ludi, what can he do if I'm hitting him with swords other than, dodging and ducking and weaving? Which he did a little bit of, but you got to sort of play to make it, I guess, more, I don't know, make more sense, I suppose. So, we disarmed him quickly in one scene, and I know it was a request when we went to do the reshoots a year later. They said we want more sword stuff. So there's the fight we did in this Raiden's Temple where I fight Liu Kang, where the Cabal fights Liu Kang the first time. So that was an additional scene that we shot in the reshoots.
Oh.
And they asked, they said we want more sword stuff, and we also want to see more of his super speed. But also the movie wasn't a massive budget, so they said, how can we do this without, just visual effects. So we played with some ideas, and I think it does sell. Like, there is visual effects. Obviously, there's the purple blur, but it kind of sells that he's running around either side. But really, I was just popping up next to him, and just good camera work, good directing, and
certainly
looked right.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we've heard that you made some particular requests to the costume department for Cabal. Could you fill in our audience on what was suggested by you specifically?
Certainly. Yeah, I wanted to have a few Easter eggs on his costume. So I asked for the crocodile tooth or the shark tooth or bear claw or whatever it is. I don't think it's ever said what exactly.
Is it a tooth? I think it's a tooth.
Yeah.
Tooth. He wore in number 11. I don't know if he wore it in any other versions of him.
That's why I distinctly remember it, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted some sort of... I liked the relationship, the friendship that him and Stryker had. So I wanted something on my costume that related to that friendship. So I'm wearing a police armor, police vest, and it's got a badge on it that says Stryker. And I don't think you can ever see it in the film. You can see there is, if you do pause it, you can see the badge, but never enough HD that you can read. There's always a bit of motion blur when you can see that you can read that it says Stryker. But they made it. The costume dudes were great. They would just say, "Yeah, we can do that," and then they just get it approved by production, and they're like, "Okay."
That's cool.
So
a small. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just thought I think that was it. I don't know if I did ask for anything else. I didn't want to get too big for my boots and start requesting. It's not my department.
A small part of me almost wanted to see, what Cabal looked like under the mask, though, because if you remember in the games, he's just got the most horrifying face that he even uses it in the fatality to scare the soul out of him. That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, let's maybe number 3. I saw Todd Garner on the set on the sequel. I'm like, hey, where's Cabal? Why's Cabal not on this film? And he's like, I love Cabal. I'm like, oh, bring me back. I'm like, what about a spin-off?
Was it Todd's favorite?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He said Cabal was his favorite.
Wow. That's cool.
Well, no one ever stays dead in Mortal Kombat, so I think you've got a pretty good shot.
Yeah. But he probably tells everyone that. He probably tells Ludi that Liu Kang's his favorite, and he probably tells
probably.
Yeah. Who's? What about you guys? Who's your favorite characters?
Mine's always been Raiden, I think. Ever since the original, I just love his look and his flying torpedo move and the electricity throw, and it's always been my favorite.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, very powerful character.
Badass, wasn't he?
Yeah.
My ultimate favorite is probably going to have to be Quan Chi. So to see what Damon Harriman is going to bring to the table, I couldn't be more stoked, man.
Yeah, it's cool. They've sort of released what characters are going to be in this film. Yeah. So, they've got some cool characters in there. It'd be excited for you guys to see what they've done.
For sure.
I don't think I've seen all of them, but I've definitely seen some of the characters when I was on set.
Nice.
Very nice.
Now, when it comes to the newer cast members that are in the sequel, Did you get the opportunity to meet a lot of them and really talk to them, get to know them, they get to work with?
Yeah, I did. So I did a little bit with the stunt team on that. I wasn't part of the core team or full time, but I was in there, rehearsing with them and doing a bit of stuff. And
Nice.
yeah, the guys I met were lovely. Saw some of the newer, met some of the newer cast, and got to meet it up again with some of the old cast, and
yeah,
it was really cool. It was a bit surreal, Oh, look, after all these years, you're back with all these guys, and they're all lovely. I really get along with Chin Han.
Oh yeah.
Because he's a Singaporean and I lived in Singapore for 2 years, so man, he's menacing on screen, but he's such a nice dude. He's really, really relaxed and chill and good listener. Joe's always lovely. He's always excited when he sees me. He goes, Cabal! I spent a bit of time with Ludi. Ludi's great. He's pretty lighthearted. Everyone seemed a bit happier. In this one,
was he still eating his steamed broccoli every damn day?
I didn't see if he was. I was asking the guys. I'm like, does Ludi still eat broccoli? Is that all he eats? I don't know. I think maybe he's branched out and he's eating carrots too.
Broccolini now.
Yeah,
a lot of fiber.
That's it.
There's prebiotics. Addie, they called her, who
Kitana.
Kitana, yeah.
She's very, lovely lady. Very happy to have a chat, and got along with her, and I didn't see Max. I didn't cross over with Max or Josh. I didn't meet Damon, but saw Chin Han and Joe.
Nice.
And, it's good just to be back, and it's the same stunt team as the first one, and those guys are killing it. I think you're all going to be blown away with what I've seen. I'm thinking we're all going to be blown away with what they come up with. So you guys should be really excited, and I'm not just saying that because I worked on it. Like, I think you guys are going to really, really appreciate what they've done.
So it's definitely moved up a notch from the first film.
Yeah, I think it's because I had faith from the first one. They're like, okay, so the studio's given them a bigger budget, and so you can do a little bit more. I guess different. Maybe the studio's given the stunt team a little bit more leeway, because they saw what they did in the first one and they said, here, have a bit more control. But that team, they were world class. They do all the big jobs in Australia, and I get to work with them a fair bit. So I'm very, very lucky to get asked to come back and jump on here and there.
Very nice.
So basically, at the end of the day, though, in your very honest opinion, you feel they've really upped the ante in the fights. You're pretty confident.
From what I saw, I really enjoyed what I saw. And it's always hard to tell because you don't know until a lot can change in the editing suite, and
that's true.
I feel like fights and choreography is generally pretty exciting and pretty amazing. What people are getting the opportunity to choreograph these shows, these movies at that level. But generally, they're there for a reason. They're there because they've proved themselves, and they come up with some cool stuff. What can change sometimes is the way it gets shot, because we choreograph stuff to sell for certain camera movements or certain camera angles. And then if a stunt team don't have control over that during filming, it can sometimes ruin all the good work we've done. Like, so if they shoot it the way that I saw some of the previews and stuff, I think you guys will be very pleased. You know, and that's not me giving away anything. I'm just saying what I thought. I'm saying I have a good feeling. So I don't think I've broken any NDAs there, but yeah. But like, that's in general. You know, I'm speaking in general. Like, of myself, I've moved into. I got to choreograph my first professional job this month and last month, and
Oh,
the same experience. Like, I create a fight to the best of my ability that tells the story that needs to be told within the fight, and you know, the reason the fight and all that. And I try to come up with camera angles that work best for the action I've created, or we create the action that works best for the camera, because there's sometimes, you know, the camera has to sort of be on one side to shoot, you know, so that you got a good backdrop, or and then you get there on the day and things can change, and actors can say, oh well, I don't want to do that, I want to add this in there, and oh, we're not going to do that camera angle because we want to do this, and which is, you know, it's a shame sometimes, and at the end of the day, it's going to be my name that's on a job as choreographer. So when it gets changed by many people, suddenly it becomes not what you created. It becomes a version of what you created. Sometimes it might be better. Sometimes it might not be as good. But you know, with that, I think that's why it's exciting that we get to do a previs, which is, I guess, like, we film the fight with energy and action and performance with all the camera angles that we want to use, and we send that off to the director and the DOP, and they'll either say yes or no, or they'll say, oh, we like the action, but we're gonna, you know, we can't achieve that with the budget we have, or we can't achieve those camera angles with this setup we have, so we're going to be fairly stationary. We don't have crane shots or track. We're not setting up, you know, dollies and tracks, which is always a challenge too, because you need to have that. You need to have the understanding before you choreograph for a film. You go, okay, well, what are we gonna? I imagine, you know, they're going to be pretty stationary. Whether the DOP is going to be stand there and he's going to get close and do shaky cam, and all you can do is throw in suggestions, but whether they're going to take it or not, you never know.
yeah.
That being said, the guys that had running the show on MK2 were very accomplished, and you know, you look at their credits, they've done a lot of good things, so I think they had a fair bit of creative control.
Yeah, I think,
nice.
if I'm not mistaken, one of the coordinators was the gentleman who did Iron Fist, and or was it for season 2? I'm not sure, but I thought the fights were brilliant in that show, so it's going to be pretty cool to see what he does, you know, what he worked up for the second movie.
Yeah, Malai Kim. He's you know, he's a very talented dude, and he's got a great understanding of martial arts and stunt fighting and camera angles, as well as Michael, the other gentleman who is the fight coordinator, also very accomplished, and you know, they're both out from LA, and they've worked on big shows over there, so
Okay.
yeah, be interesting to see how it comes out.
Yeah, 100%. So Daniel, going back to the 2021 film, there's something that I found that was very interesting. I believe while you were filming that movie, you had found out that you were having your first kid. If you can rewind to that very moment, can you tell us what exactly you were doing at that time, and you know, how it all went down?
Have you heard the story before? You just want me to relive it for you?
No, I haven't heard the story.
I actually haven't heard it. No.
Well,
No?
it's quite a funny story. So, I was going around to my mate who was working on the show as a stunt rigger, a guy that I started my stunt career like similar time, and he's also doing very well now himself. Going around to his apartment, and we were going to go down and get some food at a restaurant together. And I'm in the elevator, and my girlfriend at the time called me, and I was like, "Hello," and then the first thing she says is, "I peed on a stick," and 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 my mate. So she wasn't on speaker, but because we're in an elevator, it was. And my mate said,
Yeah.
"What? She peed in the sink." And I heard what she said, but he heard what she peed in the sink, and then he's paused and he's gone, "Oh," and then it was a bit of like, so he found out the same moment I did, which is quite funny, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I remember just being a bit like, "Oh, all right," because we were trying, not. We weren't not trying. We were just, but
Yeah.
it was an unexpected call, and I'm just would have appreciated if she waited until she was with me to tell me, but I guess she couldn't. Fair enough. I don't think I could either. But she was a couple of states north from me. And I remember being quite a brief phone conversation. Okay. Oh, I guess. Yeah, sweet. Guess we're having a baby then.
I guess so.
Yeah, and then we went out. And I think my mate felt a bit awkward because obviously, you're not meant to know some of these things. But I was like, I'm pretty open. Like, I don't really believe in I'm going to wait 12 weeks or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if something does happen, you don't tell people in case something happens and it doesn't come through. But I feel like if something does happen, you want your best mates to know that you were expecting a kid, because if you need that support, they're there and they can have a chat with you. So I was happy to sort of celebrate with him that night. We went and had a couple of beers and went to work the next day. And I remember I had to tell the fight choreographer too at the time, because he was like, I was meant to be going home for the first scan, and then he was like, "Oh, hey, can we keep you around for a couple of days? We want to do another rehearsal with you." And I'm like, I really need to go home. And he's like, what do you mean, man? You've been given this opportunity. Why do you want to go home? And I had to say, oh, look, so I had to tell him, and we don't know him for like a week or two. But he was very understanding. He's a great guy too, Chan. And he's like, oh, no worries. He was excited for me. He had a young child himself. So he's like, go for it. Going home and do what you need to do. And they sort of just did a little bit of shuffling around with the schedule. And she's 4 now, my daughter May, and we have another one now, and 2 girls, a 6-month-old named Rose.
Wow,
Very
congrats,
nice.
man. That's lovely. And I've seen some of the videos you've posted on your social media with your eldest, and it's just the most adorable thing. You make some creative videos together.
Yeah, we went through a stage where we were just like at home, and I'm like, oh, let's film a little scene. And just why not? I like filming things, and
Yeah.
But I'm like, we sort of haven't done anymore because I just it's hard. I can't think of any more storylines I can do with a 3-year-old that doesn't make them look like a brat, or doesn't make them like, I want to do a fight scene, but I can't have a 3-year-old just bashing me and like another kid see that, and then so it's hard. And then you can't have them too bratty as well, because that's not teaching the right thing. So I'm kind of limited, and I'm like, I'm not really interested in doing just loving, heartfelt little storylines. No one wants to see that.
So we've mentioned him a few times before, but with Damon's voiceover on your character, were you pretty satisfied with the way that turned out in the end?
Yeah, I think he did a good job. I mean, look, ultimately, I think I would have liked to have done it, and they did give me the opportunity. But he did a great job, and I just said to them, look, give me a shot in the sound room.
Wow.
And if you're not satisfied and you have someone better, then look, if it's going to make the movie better, it's going to make the character better, then go for it. So yeah, that was sort of the conversation. Like, oh, no worries, yeah, we didn't think you'd want to do it. And I'm like, oh, well, look, and they probably just thought I was a stuntman. But I mean, look, I came from an acting background and had done a lot of acting classes. So I'm like, well, I'm like, well, this might be the opportunity. So I'm just like, look, can I just do it? But look, Damon did a great job, and they were still nice enough to give me the credit as Cabal, which I think personally is fair. I spent 2 months in that costume doing every scene, and he probably spent 2 hours in the sound booth. So
Yep.
But,
and you're on fire, so
say that again. I was on fire, yeah. But no, Damon's a fantastic actor, and yeah, I did like what he did with Cabal.
So if you were in the booth, what would your version sound like?
I just went for general American. I remember I wanted to keep it his voice quite relaxed. But I think Simon was kind of trying to bring out a bit more of a gravelly, menacing voice. But I'm like, that's not really how I picture Cabal. But look, he's the director, so he's he's obviously got an idea of what he wants for the character. I'm so maybe my version wasn't quite how he pictured it, but I was just being true to how I thought the character. And it wasn't this voice that I'm doing now. It was a bit more serious and a bit deeper, but I'm still giving him a bit of light and shade.
Yeah.
Did you happen to, get any video recordings or little sound snippets from when you did it? Do you have anything?
No, I didn't, mate. I just, I just went in and did it, and then, yeah, I can't even remember the dialogue. If I could, I could say it for you now. but maybe what I'll do is I'll get the footage and I'll just dub over with my voice and put it on YouTube, and then you can see how I would have done it.
Hey, you should. I would totally check that out and share it, man. That'd be so cool.
Maybe I'll do that. I'm not allowed to do that. So,
are you pretty confident with your American accent? I know Christopher here; he can do a pretty good one too.
No.
Yes,
definitely not.
Yes, you can.
No way. I think your Aussie accent's better.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot of American accents in my time, so I back my ability to speak an American accent. How's that?
Not bad.
That was woeful. Look, when we did all the Warner Brothers characters at Movie World, where I worked at the theme park for many years, we would be American superheroes, not Australian superheroes. So we did have to, on a day-to-day basis, have to do an American accent. Not to saying I did an amazing American accent, because we don't have someone there, a dialect coach, telling you this and that. You're just kind of winging it, going, I think this is an American accent. You roll your R's, but there's obviously a bit more to it. But when you have a script, you can obviously practice all the vowels and the sounds, so that, opposed to just ad-libbing, which is a little bit harder. But I just got to do I got to play Russian recently. And had to speak Russian language, not just Russian accent.
Yes.
Which was very challenging. And the hardest thing I found with that was you don't really know whether you're saying it right or not. I was listening to a dialect coach saying what I had to say, and then I'm trying to repeat.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think I'm saying what she's saying, but and it took a lot. I would just I was driving like an hour in the car, I'd just play this voice recording over and over and over, and it was like, it was a couple of pages of dialogue, so it wasn't just like a phrase, but it was fun. And we got on the day and we smashed it, me and my scene partner. And I'm hoping we can fool the Russians. We probably won't, but we'll probably fool the Australians, and we'll fool everyone else because they don't know. So
Yeah.
One
Just
of
a quick
like-
side question.
Yes,
Sorry.
go. No, you go.
When were you at Movie World? Because I did go there a while ago and I had a photo with Batman, so it'd be hilarious if it was actually you.
Yeah. I mean, you should. Yeah.
I need to dig it out.
2012, I started, and then I worked there till 2016.
That may actually fall into the...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'll have to check it out.
in my early 20s, and it was such a fun job. You know, like the pay wasn't good, but at the time, you know, I was just living with a housemate, and I think rent was $120. So,
Wow.
you know, like just earning more than enough to survive and save a bit of money on the side. And you're just working with a bunch of people who are passionate about, you know, the arts, whether it's dancing or singing or film or stage or stunts. So, and, you know, I made some of my closest friends working at this little theme park on the Gold Coast of Australia. And it's like some of my fondest memories. Like, I still say that was the best job I ever had, like better than any film job, you know.
Wow.
And probably because there wasn't as much stress involved. Like, there is a bit of stress that goes with, a bit of pressure that goes with working on film. Obviously,
Granted.
every shot, there's a lot of money every time that camera rolls, just with setups and all that. So, you know, there's the pressure to get it right. But, you know, there we were just doing 3-4 shows a day, different shows, dressing up as characters, fighting in the streets, and met my wife there.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a good time. So, yeah, she used to play Supergirl, one of the characters she played, and I played Superman as well at the time. We shacked up.
Oh.
Wow.
But just to confirm, you did say that you played Batman, right?
I did. Played Batman and Superman, Green Lantern, played The Flash.
Wow.
I played Fred Jones and Shaggy Rogers from Scooby-Doo.
Oh!
And you know, there were other characters involved. Like Edward Scissorhands was like one meet and greet you would do in a Fred day. You'd dress up as Edward Scissorhands, and I'm 6'3". Like I'm a pretty big Edward Scissorhands, but it's just, you know, you put the wig on, the white makeup, and you walk out there and you're. Yeah, but like, and man, I loved like a Shaggy day. It was just chill, just hanging out with Scooby all day, and like you're just acting like a stoner.
Wakey! He's the best.
Hey, hey there, little dude. How you doing? Coming over and
Oh my god!
Wow. That's good.
Yeah, well, like you have to do
Yeah.
like when I first tried it. I first tried the Shaggy voice when I was going for the audition. It was not good, but then you just get into this groove and it just becomes so easy. And it was actually funny because I was probably 90 kilos when I got the role of Shaggy. So for a 6'3", 90 kilos is pretty like string beanie. It's not too skinny, but like is, you know. And then I got this role in Universal Studios in Singapore, and they wanted me to put on about 10 kilos of muscle. So I had like 5 months to do that. So by the time I left Movie World and I was playing Shaggy, I was 100 kilos and I was just looked like this far away from being on the juice. So it was, you know, it was like all my friends would give me shit. They were like, "You look like that Shaggy on the movie when he like they take the secret serum and they buff up." I'm like, well, it's you know, maybe I am, maybe I'm that Shaggy. Yeah.
So good. So Daniel, considering, you know, people like Todd Garner are always teasing that there are so many places in the Mortal Kombat world, so many characters that they can bring to the light here. Are there, by chance, any characters that you would like to see explored in the MKU? What do you think would be interesting to see?
I think I said one time, like, if there were 3 characters you'd like to see, who would they be? And I think mine was... This was before they had announced MK2. I think I said Nightwolf.
Yes.
Nightwolf, right? Yeah, Nightwolf.
Yeah.
I think I said Strike and Nightwolf, and I can't remember who the other one was. It might have been Johnny. Yeah, I think that'd be cool to see them. But then, like, who's that Centaur character? Montaro?
Mataro.
I think he would be
He
cool
would be
to
good.
see, like, this day and age,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Remember, like, was he at number 3? Is that when he first came
Yes.
into the games? Yeah, I remember,
Yep.
just being, like, scared, fighting him, just being like, oh my god, look at the big boss character.
Not
Like
just the size, but the noises he used to make that.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Good impression,
that-
Chris.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But Daniel, it's interesting. It's interesting though that you say Nightwolf, because I thought it was pretty neat how they practically referenced him in the first movie. Do you remember when they showed the scene with all the newspaper clippings? You actually see a little picture of what looks like Nightwolf or somebody from his clan, and if you really zoom in, they talk about a little bit about it. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
See a reference to a few different characters. Here, I got an interesting question for you, though. If Stryker was to come into the MKU, who's a good actor you think could nail Stryker?
Nathan Fillion?
Oh, that's actually not bad.
Just one that comes to mind. I think he's he's playing Green Lantern, isn't he? Playing Guy Gardner, I think he's...
Yeah.
I think because I think you'd want someone a little kind of maybe like to play that washed up sort of character. Like I feel like all the characters they've got, they are playing like older versions of the characters. Do you know what I mean? Like even
Yeah,
like
well, Carl Urban, a few people were pretty shocked that they got an older actor to play him, but
yeah, and yeah, I think so. That being said, I think like they could go like an older character for Stryker, but I think that they should get, and I agree. Like this is my opinion on all the characters, that they should cast martial artists or maybe not even martial artists, but they should cast like action actors, because people generally are watching it for the fights, I feel like, and there's a lot you can do with stunt doubles, and if they wanted to go down the route of face replacement, they could just smash out some fights with the stunt doubles. But I know that's very expensive to do. But it is hard, like with casting, because you need these good actors to carry the film, and if you just cast some action actors who aren't as stronger at delivering dialogue, the movie's always going to suffer in other areas. But I think most people are watching this film because they want to see some rad fights. Like I would have cast Scott Adkins as Johnny if it was up to me, because I think he's like I personally think he's like the best action actor there is in the world.
He's underrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they don't use him in enough, like, big budget Hollywood films, with, like,
Yeah.
I think they should more.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you got a good little role on John Wick 4.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, playing like he's in the fat suit.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him, hit the big time. And he's had some great roles. Like, and I think like there is a market for those B-grade films, that people do enjoy watching those films, and they're probably successful for the amount of money they spend making those films. They probably do quite well. They're just not backed with the $200 million marketing campaign. You know what I mean? So they're still good films and good fights. And I'm sure he has a lot of fun making them. And that's one thing I've sort of come to realization in my career is like, it doesn't matter. These big jobs don't matter. It's, you need to enjoy doing what you're doing. And I run stunt classes. For the last year I've been running stunt classes on the Gold Coast. And I say to the guys, I'm like, you may never make it as a stunt performer in Hollywood. So I'm just seeing, can you hear me? The connection went for a bit.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, you got me. Okay, so yeah, I say to them, you may never make it as a stunt performer, but you need to come to terms with that, and you need to enjoy doing this for you. You need to just go out there and make films yourself, make little shorts, and just have fun doing it. Because if you can't enjoy it, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. If you don't enjoy making little films yourselves, you're not in it for the right reasons. And I've worked on some massive films. Like I worked on Thor: Love and Thunder. I recently worked on The Fall Guy, along with Ryan, that's coming out, and had a good time. But I've had just as much fun making my own films and just fighting my mates, under a bridge or in a random forest somewhere.
Sure.
So yeah, went off on a bit of a tangent there, but
Oh, that's okay, man. But yeah, to answer your question, sorry, man. Characters that I would really like to see. Funny that you mentioned Scott Adkins in particular, because I think he would make a mean Aaron Black. I would love him to come into the franchise as Aaron Black. But there's so many good characters out there. It's hard to pick. Obviously, I'm thrilled that Damon Harriman's going to be Quan Chi. He's my favorite character. But I want to see some of the more underused characters, like in the 3D era. Onaga is a personal favorite of mine. We saw him in a painting in the first movie, or mural. So
yeah,
hey, you never know. How about you, Chris?
There was
sorry.
Just while you've said that, I'll interrupt. So there was the mural. There was actually more murals that we didn't see in the film.
Whoa.
And I remember one of them. Was it like I think it was like the first Kung Lao?
The Great Kung Lao?
Was there like an older Kung Lao? I think one of them was him. And I think I remember I went through a set and I took some sneaky photos. So I'm like, these are going to be gold one day if they don't make the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
so one didn't make it with the Great Kung Lao.
Yeah, I think they only showed like one of them.
They did, yeah. Well, they showed the one where the Great Kung Lao defeated Shang Tsung. They showed another one where the Great Kung Lao is getting torn in half by Goro.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe they did show them. There was another one I remember they didn't show. I can't remember.
Yes, there is, and I saw it, and it's very hard to find, or at least it was. The fallen elder god Shinnok was in a mural that they didn't use.
Ah, yeah, right.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that might have been it. There you go.
Yeah,
well,
so
it's good though. It's good, these little Easter eggs. There's obviously someone in some department that's doing their research and
super fans.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible! Like we saw Argus and Delia from the 3D era, who was in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Who would have guessed? So it's pretty brilliant. Absolutely.
Who was that? Sorry.
Argus and Delia, they're Adenians from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Argus is the father of Rain. It was just so crazy to see them out of all characters.
And they were in the movie?
In the mural.
In the mural. Oh, there you go. See, I don't even know that.
Yeah, I think Delia's the one with, she's got like material over her face, over her eyes.
Yeah.
And Argus is just an old man.
He's just an old man.
Yeah, I don't know much about that 3D era. Was that when Reiko first came into it?
He came in 4,
yeah.
And then after that, the few games after that became like the official 3D era.
Yeah, nice. Because I remember that was one of the roles up for grabs that they were looking at for like a stunty or something. So I was doing a bit of research on Reiko as well.
Yeah.
So when I went down to help out with all the rehearsals and previs before they'd cast Cabal and Reiko, and so I went down to Adelaide to do the previs for Reiko. So I was swinging the hammer around, and I was like, oh man, I hope I really get this role. Like, I hope they somehow throw me in, and then got Cabal. So, but
Wow.
I didn't do any of the previs for Cabal. Another guy, a guy who actually came on and he did jump in the suit. Mike Foster, stuntman Mike Foster. He came in and was the second Cabal for the pit fight when we needed 2 Cabals on screen for one of the speed runs. So I think I started the run, and then he like swings the sword in the same shot. And then it was I think at the same night they needed Cabal like in the mud. And he's like, I'll go do it. I'm like, sweet, you can go stand in the and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. So I'll stay here nice and dry with dry socks. But yeah, Mike's a legend.
Very so cool. Who do you like to see, Chris?
Can't really think of anybody, to be honest. I know Ashra's one. She's appeared in one of the most recent animated films, and she's, if you ever look her up, she's got a big white hat, and I just found her really interesting. And one of the more obscure characters, because I think from the 3D era, they're only starting to put a few of those back in the game now, and because they've been missing for so long, I just think if they were to appear in a movie, that'd be a little more interesting than your standards that are, in everything. So, yeah.
I know some people were a little disappointed how some of the like 3D characters got killed off so fast in 2021. So fingers crossed they don't do that in the second one. Hopefully they'll have a bit more justice, you know what I mean? A bit more dialogue but.
Well, it's funny because in the original script, there was never the intro shot of Natara, Reiko, and Cabal. So in the original script, the first time you saw Natara was pretty much the exact same time she died. So she flies in and I think gets killed. So, at least she got a little bit more screen time than first was planned. And that was kind of like same for Cabal. Like, he literally just comes in and then whisks off somewhere to some pit and dies. So great that they elaborated on his character too.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah, they really expanded, Cabal's screen time big time. But geez, now that you say that, I'm glad they at least put, a little bit of stuff for Nitara. That's certainly a good thing. And I think Mel Jartson did a wonderful job for the bit we did see her. But look, Daniel, I do have another question. I know acting isn't always your first goal per se, but if they asked you to do a Cabal miniseries or explore his backstory a bit more in the Black Dragon or something like this, would you be interested in taking that up?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Nice.
I do like acting. I just am more successful at stunts. So, mate, if someone offered me a big role, I would take it and I would love it. I just don't chase it as much because generally work comes through stunts, and I do get acting work through stunts. Sometimes they just need a stunter. You can say a couple of lines and they get beaten up. Or you're there on set and they go, hey, do you want to play this character? Like, it might not even be a stunt role. They're just like, no, we just got this character and you're here, so you're going to play him if you want. And it's cool. I tell people too, like, if acting is something you're interested in, stunts is a good backdoor way in, because you kind of bypass a lot of the casting process. You just get selected by the stunt coordinator if you know him, or like on Godzilla vs. Kong, I was there as the lead stunt double, and then after I'd sort of wrapped up with all his stuff, they said, hey, we've given you this character, this role. You're just sort of going to be a security guard that follows the main villain around. And I'm like, so I had another 4 weeks work on the job playing this character. And I was, stoked. I was like, all right, sweet, thank you.
Cool. But
Yeah. I would like to see a TV series, a Black Dragon TV series, and I'd be the first person to put my hand up.
Cool, man.
very cool. We know that Josh was a very funny man, but were there any other sort of funny pranks or anything that happened on set that you can recall?
Nothing that I can recall. On the recent one, like the mood seemed a bit more lighthearted. Like there's a bit more jokes happening. In my opinion, I like having a bit of a laugh with some of the actors and stunt team. But no, I can't remember anything really. I was usually, if I wasn't like on set playing Cabal, I was with the stunt team helping with like rehearsals or previs.
Okay.
And those are pretty generally they're pretty like strenuous days, and you're just fighting all day in the sun or
Too busy.
the soundstage. But I don't remember a lot of jokes or pranks happening. I'm sure there were, but I wasn't a part of them if they were.
Yeah. Did you get to keep anything when you left? Anything, any props or anything?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe was supposed to take something, maybe not. So
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Can't.
okay.
Fine.
Okay.
It's got like a giant camera in the back or something there.
Yeah. Yeah. I took a crane. And drove one of the camera cranes back to the Gold Coast.
Hey,
Yeah.
Daniel. Were you there on set when Ed Boon came to visit?
No,
Did you get to meet him?
I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately.
There you go.
Would have been cool. Would have been cool to meet him and pick his brain and talk to him about the characters and
Certainly.
Yeah, but no, missed that opportunity. I wasn't, I didn't do as much on the sequel because I don't think he came to the first one. As far as I know, I heard
Not
he
that I
came to the
heard.
sequel. No, but I wasn't there. I didn't have as much, so I missed that day. But it's still nice, to see guys like Todd and Simon, Simon McCoy and obviously all the stunt team and the actors and a lot of actually a lot of the other crew worked on the first one too, like the costume designers and lighting guys and special effects. So I saw a lot of familiar faces. So if you like the costumes on the first one, then you'll like the costumes on the sequel, hopefully.
That's good news because I thought a lot of the costumes were actually pretty impressive in the first one. I mean, obviously, needless to say, Cabal was a standout. But another really good one, to be honest, was I thought they had a pretty cool look for Chin Han's Shang Tsung, kind of like his armor. I thought it looked pretty neat, pretty unique. But yeah, it's too bad you didn't get to meet Ed, man, because he seems like a pretty cool guy. Todd Garner, especially, is so interactive with the community. He seems like such a nice guy. It's really nice to see him, so enthusiastic all the time and wanting to know what the fans want to see. I am curious. How is it, more specifically working with Simon? Tell us something about him because, I actually don't really know that much about Simon. Is he very easy to get along with and stuff like this?
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Simon's nice. I don't know if he's directed much since the first Mortal Kombat. He may have, but nothing that I didn't really keep up with where his career went. But yeah, he was good. He's just pretty pretty chill on set.
Yeah.
I felt like on this one, like, was sort of make jokes and
Oh, good.
you know, there were times on set where he's like, "Oh, don't worry, Daniel, we're not going to set you on fire on this one." You know, so he was, you know, Simon's great. He was nice to run into in the lunch line, and yeah, he's not too big for his boots. He's happy to have a quick chat, and
Yeah.
you know, I think I was walking through the offices and towards costuming or something, and went past his office, and he's like, "Hey, Daniel, like, what are you doing?" You know, like,
Yeah.
"Good to see you." You know, like, and had a quick chat. So, yeah, nice guy to have on set. I think he's doing a good job with the Mortal Kombat universe.
Yeah, heck yeah. He's a pretty tall fella too, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he's like 6'4". Like, I'm 6'3", and I'm pretty sure he's got an inch on me.
Wow.
But he's also quite skinny, so like he sometimes when you're skinny and tall, you look taller than you are. But I'm pretty sure he's got an inch. He's got an inch on me. Tall guy, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, despite the fact that you were born and bred in New Zealand, you've called Australia home for some time now. So, how proud are you to see so many Aussies credited as working on this and the new film?
Yeah, I think it's great that it's come back here to Australia, and it's, you know, a lot of the same crew in all the departments working on it. Even though it's the first film was shot in South Australia, which is at the bottom of Australia, and the sequel was filmed in my hometown on the Gold Coast, in Queensland. Yeah, it's great, man. I'm stoked when any big budget film comes to Australia and gets shot here. You know, I think, and hopefully more films will be set in Australia. More big budget films will be set, not just filmed here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, generally when there's these world crisis events, they tend to be in New York or in Los Angeles, and you know, we're continuously trying to look like somewhere else. But that's what was so good about working on The Fall Guy, was it was set in Sydney. We filmed it in Sydney, and so I'm hoping that'll put, you know, Sydney on the world map a little more than it already is, and people go, "Hey, that's, you know, that maybe that could be where the Avengers fight next," or, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a proud Australian, even though I'm not a citizen. I'm a permanent resident, but I don't have an Australian passport. But it does feel more like home here than New Zealand does, even though my family are back there, and it's not, you know, it's very nostalgic and nice when I go home. But you know, I've got 2 Australian daughters and an Australian wife, and I don't really care if the All Blacks win or lose in the in the rugby. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I'm fairly Australian. I need to look into getting my passport. But I have a British passport and a New Zealand passport, so I need to give one of those up. So I'm like, do I give up my British or do I give up my New Zealand? I think I'll give up my New Zealand passport, because you don't get any more benefits if you got an Australian or a New Zealand. So at least I can go to England if I ever needed to work there or something pretty easily.
True.
Yeah. And speaking of fellow Australians, do you still keep in touch with Nathan Jones? I think you became good friends with him, right?
Yeah, Nathan and I hung out a bit, and we've worked together since. We did a Comic-Con, like a supernova together.
Oh, that's cool.
So we sat next to each other, and then we also worked on a little short film together, called Hitched, which is done quite well, directed by Kia Beck, who's a stunt coordinator, and it's done quite well in the film festivals. So nice to see him there too. I think that's sort of it. I haven't actually been in touch with him for a while. I think he went down and did the new Furiosa movie. I'm not sure what he's been doing since, but he lives kind of 3 hours north of me, so we never really would cross paths. If he was on the Gold Coast, I'd catch up with him more, but yeah. But he's Nathan's great. He's a big ball of energy, very big ball.
So Dan, you're a bit of a gamer, if I'm not mistaken. What are some of your favorite IPs or video games?
I love gaming, and I just don't get to do it anywhere as much as I would like to. Having children. If there's any, dads listening,
I can definitely relate.
yeah, you just like, and you feel bad too playing games that you like. I could be, having a relationship with my child right now, and my daughter likes to go to bed at 9 p.m. So when she's finally asleep, I don't want to do anything else other than sleep. You know what I mean? So I never get to play games. The last game I played was Hogwarts Legacy, because I was a big Harry Potter fan growing up, and that was a really cool game. I thought. I think they nailed like the wizarding world, especially we got to see what was beyond the walls of Hogwarts and the surrounding areas. I think they nailed that. But my most memorable games, I really enjoyed Days Gone, which is really enjoyed that. I really like zombie genre. So The Last of Us is up there for me. But also Uncharted too. So fighting games aren't up there for me. I really like games we get to explore a bit more, and it's a bit more of a narrative, I guess, as you play.
I'm like that too.
Opposed to just watching cutscenes, maybe.
100%.
Yeah, but have you guys played Days Gone?
I thought Days Gone was just criminally underrated. I thought Sam Witwer did a phenomenal job as the protagonist, and I thought the gameplay, all things considered, was pretty smooth sailing. The game wasn't anything too complicated. Sometimes it almost gets annoying when it is. I just thought the whole thing was an enjoyable experience. Graphically, it was state of the art. Especially for its time, it looked so good. Story was engaging. I didn't think there's anything wrong with it. That's why I was really shocked that so many people disliked it. But yeah, sorry, Chris, you're about to say something?
No, I was just saying I hadn't played that. But have you ever checked out the Resident Evil games or those kind of ones?
Yeah, I played I think Resident Evil 4 is the only Resident Evil. Is it Leon, the protagonist in that?
Leon, yep.
That's the best one.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad I played the best one then.
Yep.
Yeah, but then because it's a little bit more. It's like a horror zombie. It's not so much like a survival. I really like the survival games.
Some more Last of Us.
Last of Us, yeah. Last of Us is great because you really have to follow where they're taking you, so you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. Sometimes when those really big open world games, you feel like I just haven't seen everything, or you get so sidetracked that you step away from the main storyline and you just forget what you were supposed to be doing. I get like that when I play Fallout, which is another game I love. But I'm like, sometimes I tell myself, all right, I'm just going to stick to the storyline. I'm not going to do any side quests, and then I'm just off trying to find some dog or, I don't know. Also The Witcher 3. I thought that was a really good game. I enjoyed. Played Final Fantasy growing up. Number 8. Was sort of one I enjoyed. I really love the Final Fantasy worlds, particularly the ones that I really like in Final Fantasy when you get to come to some sleepy little village and just sort of just take in sort of what the created in this little town, you know, and there's
Sure.
some of the ones that get a bit too space age, and like I kind of find those a bit too overbearing at points. But like when you're just into some little town with chocobo farms, and yeah, I'm like I really dig that. Yeah, like I've played I haven't played a lot of games, but like I when I do play a game, I make sure I research, like, okay, am I gonna want to give 20 or 30 hours to this game, or maybe more. I don't mind. Oh, you go. Sorry, I'm just going to keep talking about games I like otherwise.
Okay, well, I do have an interesting question. Now, you did state earlier that you didn't play the 3D era Mortal Kombat games very much, but did you, even for a little bit, happen to try any of Mortal Kombat Deception or Mortal Kombat Armageddon's Conquest mode? Because for me and Chris, that is one of the, if not the best part of Mortal Kombat for us, because you actually get to explore, all these realms. You get to interact with characters. You get to find, secrets laid all over these massive maps. And it's such an engaging mode, and I wish they brought that back for the newer games instead of just the continuous cutscenes, as you said. Did you ever happen to play it?
I did not. It does sound like something I would be interested in, but
Oh yeah,
I think I probably left it too late. Like I really struggle to play. Like I find that it's too dated. Like I just can't get over the graphics now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they were to like redo it, like I know they've redone Final Fantasy VII. I think they've just done Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah.
Because I same thing. I think if I never played this 7 original, but I think again if I tried to, I'd get annoyed at, I don't know, the load screens or the blocky characters.
Yep.
Although they generally, if they do remaster them, the load screens are gone, and I quite liked. And I just tried to play 8 again for nostalgia reasons on the Nintendo Switch, and you can like fast forward through bits, and you can triple the speed of fights. So like you just quickly fight characters, cool. And then get more into the story.
Yeah.
So,
do you have any other upcoming projects that you're willing to talk about this time, Daniel?
I don't really. I've just sort of wrapping up an indie film called Homeward. That was the one I got to do the fight choreo for, and I doubled the lead actor and played a character as well on that. And I'm kind of hopeful that it's going to be a good one. Like it might be, sometimes on these jobs that are indie, when you're working on them, you're like, what is this job? What's it going to be? Like, I know I talked to guys who worked on the first Matrix, and they all say they had no idea what they were working on when they do it. They're like, what is this movie? And they weren't expecting it to blow up as big as it did. Like, I think everyone was so surprised. And I kind of feel like that about this movie. Like, I feel like it could be fairly entertaining for its genre. It's kind of like a criminal sort of heist movie, I would say, kind of set in the Australian countryside. So something that's like not like, I'm sure it's been done, but there's nothing I can think of immediately. And I try to find movies like that sometimes that like are just not maybe very well advertised. Like there's an Australian indie film called Red Hill, starring Ryan Quanten, who was True Blood. He played Jason Stackhouse in True Blood. Which is a great character, and that is quite a jokey character. So it's this Red Hill is like he's this guy comes to town and is killing all the locals, and he's the new sheriff, and he's kind of gets caught up in it. And it's like a great little thriller sort of set in this little Australian outback town. Movies like that I really appreciate, and probably shot on a $100,000 or $200,000 budget. But that sometimes with these smaller budgets, you've got to be more creative, and you got to find ways to make these movies, seem like it's a high budget movie. So yes, I have nothing in the future. Like, I think I'm just waiting to hear about a few other jobs, but in Australia there's not too much happening right now. I feel like the industry still hasn't fully recovered after the SAG acting strikes and the writing strikes. There is in Sydney. There's a Mark Wahlberg, Robert Downey Jr. movie happening, but they're sort of trying to still hire local performers and actors on that job. But right now in the Gold Coast, there's not a lot happening.
Yeah. So now we're going to jump into the last segment of the show, in which we call
Final Round.
So what we're going to do in this final round is just ask you some quick questions, try to get to know you a little more. So the first question being, what are some of your secret talents?
Secret talents? I don't know if I have any that I keep a secret. I can do a standing backflip, but I feel like that's pretty standard for most stuntmen. But for someone that's 6'3", it's not as. And I'm reasonably good on a trampoline. Also, for a bigger guy, you can throw double flips and stuff. Again, not really a secret, because as a stuntman, you want people to know that you're talented in areas like that. Oh, actually, here's a secret. I'm a pretty good artist.
Okay.
I'm a pretty good with a pen and pencil. I can copy things like almost exactly, I remember in school I'd always win first prize for the art competition or drawing competition. So I'll say that might be my secret talent.
Oh, that's really cool. Is there anything that you're very, very proud of that you drew? Like, what's your favorite thing that you've ever created?
When I was in my early 20s, I created a graphic novel or a comic book.
Oh.
And I never finished it. I got about 30 or 40 pages in, and it was just a lot of work. I think that's why I stopped. It was just like one page with sketching, inking, scan on the computer, add the color, add the text, would take about 6 to 7 hours. Just one page of my time. And I just remember it just kind of taking a lot of time. And then I would get a girlfriend and I wouldn't be interested in doing that. And then, so looking back, it's a cool little thing. My idea was to make a story, make a graphic novel, sell it, and then eventually make a movie on the story. But just never finished it and kind of moved on from it, to be honest. But it's on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Daniel, what's your favourite childhood memory?
I grew up and I lived next door to a farm, and I would spend a lot of time on a neighbour's farm, just running around with my brothers or my mates that lived, on the other side of the farm. So you'd cut through the farm to get to your friend's house. And I come from, in New Zealand, where I'm from, we still lived on the outskirts of the town. There's a lot of farms, so like mates lived on farms, and would just get up to not mischief, but just go exploring with mates. And I really like the countryside. Like here on the Gold Coast, where I live in the city, I would love to do more camping and things like that, but my wife wasn't really into that. But I'm going to convert her. We've got young kids, so we'll wait.
Goals.
We'll wait. Wait till they're a little bit older. We don't have to bring like a pram and stuff. But I really would like to do a bit more outdoorsy camping stuff, and I love like hiking. So But yeah, my fondest memory would just be hanging out in the countryside and the farms with my brother or my friends, playing games, getting
Very
chased by
nice.
cows and stuff.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done?
Oh man.
Or maybe the scariest. Yeah.
Yeah. What comes to I used to do a sport named surf lifesaving, which North Americans and the people may not know what it is, but it's a very big sport in Australia and in New Zealand. And we would just go out in monstrous surf on our surf craft. We're talking like double, triple overhead, and on those craft you would just get pounded sometimes, and you'd nearly drown. Like I was never really afraid to catch a big wave. Like I would just go for it. And I remember this one time I just got held under, and you've got your $300 paddle in your hand that you don't want to let go, but it's also keeping you underwater. So I remember just ditching that one time, just trying to get to the top, and then you get hit by another wave and haven't come up for a breath. So like the sport I was involved in my teenage years and in my early 20s could be pretty extreme at times. And then I guess maybe that's why I got into stunts, or like what drew me into stunts, because I don't mind a bit of excitement, a bit of thrill.
Yeah.
But that's what comes to mind. I'm sure I've done some crazy stuff, but can't think of anything right off the top of my head.
Right
on. What are some of your favourite foods?
Oh, I love salt and vinegar chips.
Yeah.
But I don't eat them anymore. I used to be like addicted to them, but I haven't had them for a long time, just because of like all the oils and stuff used in them. Just trying to get a bit healthier.
Yep.
I love Mexican.
Oh yeah.
I live across the road from a Guzman Gomez.
Oh, that's what Marcus actually came to Australia in December for the first time, and that's where we met for the first time. One rainy night in Darling Harbour, we actually met up and sat under this little awning in the pouring rain, eating GYG.
Yeah. It's like kind of like Taco Bell, like America's version of Taco Bell, or wouldn't say it's better?
I'd say it's better.
Yeah, it's like healthier, right? Like,
yeah, because I think Taco Bell's guacamole is a bit more like powdered vomit, whereas this is like the real deal.
yeah. Man, so like we just bought a house a couple months ago, and like there's a new like service center was happening. It's kind of a couple streets. It's like a walking distance, but it's not directly across the road. Otherwise, that'd be quite annoying. But you can see the big yellow sign from our front yard. But we didn't realize at first, and then like the first shop we noticed was a Zarafas, which is like a kind of like a Starbucks, a Gold Coast version of Starbucks. They do pretty good coffees, and my wife was very excited about that. And then I noticed the Guzman and Gomez sign come up, and I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna have Mexican every night.
Yep.
And there's a sushi place going in there too. So
okay.
Yeah, we're Mexican, pizza, burgers, just like what I guess stuff that everyone likes, right?
Yeah.
I don't like seafood though. I'm not a seafood guy.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I do.
It's kind of an acquired taste.
Yeah, I don't like the fishiness of it all. Like I do like grilled salmon, but battered fish and chips. But anything but anything like crab or prawns and stuff, I'm just like, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, to me it just reminds me of a bin on a hot day, like those big skip bins outside.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, yeah. We used to go fishing as kids sometimes, and just like sometimes it'd just be like dead fish just rotting in the sun. Kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's appetizing.
Yeah. But I suppose if like it's this, if you grow up eating that stuff, you just love it. Like Singaporeans love seafood, and I'm just like, yeah.
Your favorite place on Earth?
Wow. It's, I feel like I probably haven't been to my favorite place yet. But I mean, I'd say maybe my hometown in New Zealand. I love going back there. We've got like a massive mountain there, and you can be like surfing in the morning and be up in the snow, like by lunchtime. It's like that close to go from the mountain to the beach. A place called New Plymouth, Taranaki in New Zealand. But when I was living in Singapore, I travelled to a fair few different Asian countries, and I went to Myanmar, which a lot of people hadn't heard of. I hadn't heard of it before. It used to be called Burma.
Oh, yeah.
And since I've been there, I think there's been a massive genocide, so it's like not the safest place to go to right now. But it was amazing. Like when I was there, it was just like I went to this place called Bagan, and they have all these like ancient, like 2,000-year-old pagodas, like scattered throughout the land. And so you get these little electric e-scooters, and you're scootering through like the wilderness, and you just like every 50 to 100 meters, you come across this other like this temple, right? And then some of them are like the size of castles, some of them are the size of a house. It was such a wild time. I was just there by myself. I just went for a week by myself, and it was just such a cool time just to like reflect and not be distracted. Just get in your head. You know, I like being by myself. I'm kind of weird like that. Like I
don't think that's weird at all.
Yeah, no, it's not weird. Like a lot of people would relate to that, but you know, some people will be like, "Oh, I couldn't do a holiday on my own," or "Oh, I can't go to the movies on my own." Like I like being by myself.
Yeah.
So
if you found a magic lamp and a genie granted you 3 wishes, what would they be?
Oh,
gotta love that one.
Yeah, you can get creative with this question, can't you?
You can.
I'd love the ability to fly like Superman can fly, so as fast as he can fly. I mean, you'd need an invulnerability though to be able to do that. I think otherwise your skin would rip off.
That's true.
And with that, you could make a lot of money with flying. Like, you know, I could wish for money, but I'm like, hey, if I can fly, you'd be a movie star. They're like, oh, well, let's hire him. We don't need to put him in a wire. We can save lots of money with the visual effects.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, maybe flight, and then like an infinite youth. Although I imagine that would like come with a bit of sorrow too, because you'd see all your family and stuff.
That's true.
You know, grow up, die around you. But I think like I'd still go for that. Be a bit heartless, flight and youth, and
Daniel, can you do any impersonations? What's your favorite impersonation?
Well, you've already seen my Shaggy impersonation. I used to do a pretty good Jim Carrey impersonation. Like a lot of people told me like when I was like a teenager stuff I looked like Jim Carrey. I don't think I do now, but I'm too embarrassed though to give that a shot. So let's just say
okay.
No,
okay, let's change. Yeah.
My Shaggy.
Can you do it again?
Oh, hey man, I'm Shaggy. Nice to meet you. This is my pal Scooby-Doo. Oh, why don't you come over here and get a photo with us? All right.
That's incredible. Did I just hear Matthew Lillard in the room?
Oh
my God.
Thank you.
How good is that?
But okay, if you could have any movie role, what would it be?
It would be like it'd have to be like a superhero role.
Oh,
I
nice.
think because I'd like the fighting. I'd love to do a really good Dragon Ball Z live action and play Goku or something, or I'd even be happy with like just Yamcha or something, just be. But yeah, like Dragon Ball Z, that was my thing as a teenager and a kid growing up. Like I collected all the cards, and my Dragon Ball Z card collection is pretty good. Like I reckon I could sell it for a few $1,000s. Got some some ultra rares in there. Yeah, I think like that would be probably it. I think it'd be like, because it'd be like living a childhood dream in a way. Like it'd be fulfilling that for young Daniel. Not that I'm not really a Dragon Ball Z fan anymore, because I kind of, as I grow older, I kind of think it's like a lot of it is stupid. Like it's annoying, It's annoying, like a lot of the storylines that they did. But it's anime, I feel like anime is always a bit wacky. But yeah, I loved like where it was in the Saiyan saga, and then it just every season that went along, it got a little bit weirder.
Yeah. All right, and final question.
Really bad. He's a really bad parent. Like he just disappears for years at a time. doesn't talk to his best friend, and yeah.
And a final question: what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? My first ever surf life saving coach, he used to have a sign that was up in the surf club, and it said, if you're not training, someone else is. So I always think of that one. I always remember the sign, and I like to think that I do spend a lot of time trying to better myself in my craft.
Yep.
Feel like, to make it, to make that 1%, you got to be doing something that the other 99% of people aren't willing to do. So, little things like that. I used to, when I was living in Singapore, I was away from the film industry. Like I just sort of started to get a few film roles, and I went off to live in Singapore for 2 years, and I sort of I missed out on a few jobs like Thor Ragnarok and Aquaman that was shooting in my city. There's nothing to say that I would have got on those films, but I when I was there, I just every day was doing some sort of training to better myself as a stunt performer. So, I took up boxing. I was boxing like 3 to 4 times a week, and I was going to a gymnastics hall twice a week. I did all my PADI scuba certifications to get to PADI dive master. So and I could have gone there and just partied like every second day and just had a good time, but I was like, no, I'm here for 2 years. I'm not doing all the stuff, all the film work I could be doing in Australia. So I've got to put the work in and make up for that somehow. And fortunately, with our job at the theme park, I need to work 3 or 4 days a week, so we could spend a lot of time training. And so that's a quote, I guess. And that's how I sort of think about making it in this crazy industry of acting and stunts, is that you've just got to be putting in the work when other people aren't willing to. And you can, like anyone can make it in this industry. You just got to be continuously doing stuff. Last year I had a big year for developing my own skills as a filmmaker, and spent a lot of time creating my own stuff. So I shot 2 decent length short films, and I think I filmed 10 little scenes that has somehow stunt related.
Nice.
Trying to get better behind camera, or just sort of action directing, and that's sort of the path I want to go in eventually, is sort of being a bit more creative and control of what's happening in the action department. So it takes a long time to get there, though, into that sort of second unit director role. But there's nothing stopping me. I just gotta keep chipping away and get better get better behind lens. And I think like if you just got to be so good that people just want to use you. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, don't leave it up to chance or leave it up to, you just got to just keep creating amazing stuff that people will eventually like, oh, look what this dude's doing. Like there's guys like Chris Cohen were doing that. Chris Cohen, he's one of the big second unit directors. He did Shang-Chi and he did The Kingsman, you know, and he's such a wizard behind the camera. Like the camera moves he does, he just creates some stuff on YouTube that just looks like it's straight out of an anime. Just the shot selection he chooses and the camera movements. You're like, if anyone likes watching fight scenes, you should go and watch some of Chris Cohen's stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
Cool. Well said. Well said. It's been such a pleasure hanging out with you tonight, my friend. Thanks for joining Kamidogu today. Is there any last words you want to say to your fans, and where can we find you on social media?
Thank you for enjoying what I did as Cabal, and I hope you can follow my journey. I'm been, like I said earlier, been trying to pump out a lot of footage that I've directed or been in creative control. So if you could, you know, jump onto my YouTube channel and leave a friendly comment that says, I like this or I didn't like this, it all helps the algorithm. And, you know, that's, I'm just trying to, you know, get noticed somehow by, it might be producers or something that might just see some stuff and go, hey, let's give that guy a shot. So then that's what I'm really trying to do moving forward. Just keep creating, and it's all going to be action and fight based. So, you know, we Mortal Kombat fans will like my work. Anytime I write a story, it's always like just trying to create different reasons for people punching on. So, yeah. If you like fights, just follow my journey and give me some love on YouTube, because I think that's where it's at. YouTube, like if you get 1,000 views on YouTube, it's a pretty big deal compared to like say 1,000 views on your Instagram story. Like, so yeah, just always uploading stuff, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you for watching.
All right, combatants, we've made it to the finish line. Hope you enjoyed your time with us today and got a kick out of Daniel's stories. We definitely plan to monitor Daniel's career and see where the future takes him from here. You can also bet that me and Chris are going to be the first ones at the theater when Mortal Kombat 2 hits. We'll be exhilarated once we get those character posters or teaser trailer. But for now, all we can do is take a deep breath, or grab that respirator if needs be, as we still likely have a considerable wait until we get to that point. As per usual, we appreciate everyone tuning in, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. We're happy to say we have another episode just around the corner. Have fun, stay safe, and
stay flawless.